Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Puerto Rican-born jazz trombonist Ruben Caban. We get into his brand new 2024 CD, Kangana. It brings a fiery blend of Afro Caribbeanrhythms, Taino melodies, and neo-soul together with pure spontaneity. It incorporates some well-known standards from the likes of Wayne Shorter and Pat Metheny on the album. Over the years, he has toured and or recorded as a sideman and soloist with an array of internationally renowned artists in a variety of genres. Dig this story.
Again, it's great to meet you. I've already spun your music on the show. I'm excited to get into it. So thank you again for taking a minute on. I appreciate it. And I would love to begin our conversation with, we're on the 4-year anniversary of this pandemic, and I'm curious, how did you survive the pandemic, and how did it change you?
Oh man, I have to be honest, and this is probably going to anger a lot of our fellow musicians. I never stopped working. I never skipped a beat, and here's why. I did a lot of recordings from home. I worked with a lot of different artists of mainstream music, so I've always had a little bit of work recording trombone tracks from my little home studio. So during the pandemic, it just kept on going, and it actually got even busier. And on top of that, I'm also a college professor. And since I travel a lot of the teaching that I do is online courses. So again, I didn't skip a beat when during the pandemic. I just kept on working. If anything, I got more work because everybody was online.
Yeah. I understand that, and I think that the pandemic did play out in very surprising ways for a lot of people like that. So I'm curious, with your latest album, talk to me, was this kind of an outgrowth of living through the pandemic?
No, actually, I was hoping somebody asked me about this. No, this album had nothing to do with the pandemic. It is not a pandemic isolation album of any sort. I did this afterwards, and we all went into the studio. As you can see, it's a lot of different musicians. So I did it little by little. It was a nightmare trying to schedule everybody, but I got everybody into the studio, different rhythm sections, and we did it little by little once everything opened up.
So how did you artistically put this album together? How did all of it come together and come as a completed sound that we listen to now?
Oh, man. Okay, step one was trying to incorporate just a little bit of my original music, but I think most of what I was trying to go for was to feature my colleagues. Pretty much the guys here in South Florida, there's some legends in there, but they are just my friends. And there's also some local legends in there that might not be as well known, that are also in South Florida. But that was how everything kind of began, kind of putting everybody together. So I wrote the arrangements thinking of all of them and their abilities and how to make them kind of shine and do their thing. So all the arrangements, all the recording, everything was kind of put together with that in mind. And then little by little, I got each rhythm section isolated in the studio, and they made the magic happen. That's the sound that you hear. It's as honest and as organic as I can make it when you have that many people involved.
So at the end of the day, what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
I hope it brings joy. That's a big one for me. Most of it it's happy. It's happy music. I try not to publish too much of a dark side of anything. In some Latin American countries, they refer to some of the music as danceable. Whether it's the Latin jazz tunes or whether it is even the more funk stuff, and even some of the funk covers or fusion like Imperial Strut. So it's just want to show off the guys that we have here in South Florida, that we all have kind of the same background. We all do everything and anything. We all come from different cultures, and the bottom line is that joy. Music should bring joy. When you listen to it, you should tap your foot and you should have a smile on your face, and that's kind of what we're going for here.
Well, I know that's the way it was for me. There's such a resounding good feel to this. How did all this begin for you? Take me back to your childhood and how the roots of not only music in general and the trombone, but just jazz. How did all that become you?
Oh man, that's still a struggle today, man. Okay, so I am born in Puerto Rico. I do have a lot of family members that are also musicians. Some of them, different genres of music. Some of them were self-taught musicians, but music in our family was everywhere. For example, my older sister is a professional cellist. She's a symphonic player. When it comes to me, I'm a product of the Central Florida public school system. And when I was in middle school, of course, they give you different electives to try. And I ran into one of the classes that was band. And of course, here in the United States, they treated music education this is back in the 80s, a little different than they do now in our countries, like Puerto Rico or Latin America in general. There's a big concert band thing. So my band director was kind of trying us out, and he looked at me, gotta love him, Dr. Bob Conger. I love you to death, man. He looked at me and he goes, "Man, you have great trombone lips." And at first I was kind of skeptical, and he was like, wait, hold on a second. And he went to his office and he got his trombone and he started playing. And I realized, hold on a second, wait, that's what they use in salsa music in my culture. And I knew guys already, by the time I was like 10, I knew names like Willie Colon and Buddy Rogers, and these are names that were in conversation in our culture because they recorded all that heavy salsa back in the 70s. So when I saw the instrument and heard it, I was like, man, I can get into that. That's actually a pretty cool instrument in my culture. So it all kind of started there through the public school system. When I got to high school in Central Florida, I started working with the local salsa bands. And through there, I kind of blossomed into other fields, but pretty much that's where I got my beginnings through the public school system, and then Latin music. Being Puerto Rican, it was easy to just go, hey, he's Puerto Rican, he speaks Spanish, he's got a trombone, put him in the band. When it comes to jazz, at the same time that I was kind of coming up in high school in Central Florida, I got lucky that Carl Fontana came through town, and at the time my sister was at the university, and she tells me, listen, there's some guy that plays trombone. I think he plays jazz or something like that, and he's gonna be at UCF, and you should go check him out. And of course, I saw Carl Fontana play the first few notes, and I was like, oh my goodness, that is what I want to do.
Right on.
I was mind blown. I mean, I grew up listening to Willie and Buddy Rogers and all those guys from Fania improvising, but I had no idea the trombone could be as flexible and as amazing as what Carl was doing. I mean, I was really lucky to have gotten to hear him live, and he was in his prime, and he just blew my mind. I'm like, wow. Trombone can play that fast, that clean? You mean I don't have to bleed every time I play trombone? So yeah, that was really eye-opening. So I've always kind of incorporated that, even when I'm playing Latin music. Sometimes, especially when I got really heavy into some of the artists like did some tours with Gilberto Santa Rosa, which he's like the Frank Sinatra of salsa music. And I had a few solo spots that were extended jazz spots. And, you know, the guys, look, this is a big band, because it was the 360 big band that he put together for one of the tours. And the guys looked at the line, and they were like, here, bro, you do that jazz stuff. You take those 3 pages of chord changes we don't know what to do with. So I've always incorporated a little bit of the hard bop, bebop vocabulary even into my Latin jazz playing and even into my salsa playing. So it's an interesting hybrid coming from these many cultures, you know.
So after playing the instrument and being a musician for all these years, what do you like the best about being a professional musician?
Oof. What do I like best about being? Wow, man. Honestly, I have to say that I love sharing the music. I love sharing the music. I love being on stage, and I love when the audience is engaged with us playing. And I say us because without a band, I'm nothing. It's a rush. I feel connected, and it makes me feel great when they feel connected to what's happening, whether it's an intimate setting or a larger venue. It's just a different energy, and that's really what's got me hooked all these years, is that you know, getting in touch with the human side of people through this vehicle that we call music. It's amazing. I think it's a roller coaster of feelings that you can share in a moment with just, you know, some vibrations, you know, some pitches and rhythms. Put them in the right place at the right time, in the right order, and you're gonna get some reactions. And it's awesome when you can share it with other people.
The beauty about being a musician, from my angle of it, is that there's so many dreams that are met. Was there a particular stage or a venue that you dreamed of playing in that you actually got a chance to do it?
I'm okay. So I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I never went into the music industry as a dream. You know what my dream was? You know what my venue was? I wanted to be a marine biologist. At not one point in my life did I say, I am going to be a professional musician and I'm going to go play at this place. And I've never really cared about that. Like, and this is not the first time somebody's ever asked me that. I've never had that dream. I play music because I like to share the music. I love playing my instruments because I love the outlet that it is. I've never really had any aspirations to play or at a venue or be famous or anything like that.
Interesting. So let me ask you this. Why do you love jazz?
It goes back to the outlet and expressing yourself. I think I needed that. And jazz came to my life at a point in time where I really needed that. You know, I've always kind of been a homebody, and the trombone was kind of like an outside voice. You know, it kind of channeled what was inside of me. And through jazz music, I'm really able to just leave it all out in there. It's like somebody just pulled the plug in the drain, and all the emotions just go right down. It's such a relief.
Let me ask you this. You already kind of mentioned a pretty spectacular early show in your life that you saw, but if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see another show, where would you go? Who would you love to see?
Oh, man, you know who I missed that I would have loved to have seen? I would have loved to have seen J.J. Johnson.
Yeah.
I never got to catch him live, and that is one of the sounds that you can hear a little bit in my playing. He was one of the first guys I'm not going to say the first. I can tell you who the first guy I transcribed was. He's still around. Conrad Herwig was the very first trombone solo that I transcribed. But I got really, really, really heavy into J.J. Johnson late in my high school and early in my college years when I was at the University of North Florida. Vince Garner, I don't know if you're familiar with Vince over at Lincoln Center. Vince Garner is the lead trombone player at Lincoln Center with Winter Marsalis, and we went to school together. And he's the one that kind of redirected me and went, man, you should check out more JJ. I know you know a little bit of JJ, but check out more JJ. And I went on a rabbit hole of JJ Johnson, but I never got to see him live, and I've always kicked myself in the rear for not making the time and try to catch him while he was still around. Just never worked out.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, Ruben, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, that you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Man, I am somebody's dad. I am somebody's parent. I am somebody's husband. I'm a teacher, you know. Of course, I'm a dad first. And I think very, very, at the end of that list, I'm a musician. But that's really my motivational force, and what really defines me is it is my family. They keep me honest. Everything that I do in whether it's music or teaching is for them. It's because of them. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much how I see myself, you know.
Beautiful. So if anyone wants to pick up the new album, learn about live shows, anything about your world, what is the best way for people to do that?
Oh, that's super easy. Well, first of all, the album, of course, most people rather stream nowadays, so they can find them on every single one of the streaming platforms, iTunes, Apple, Spotify, name it. I do have for collectors, I do keep some hard copies. I'm very easy to reach through social media. Ruben Caban 5 on Instagram, for example. I'll be posting some reminders because I just got a new shipment of CDs. I ran out for some reason. I guess there's still people that still like them. But yeah, they can contact me through my Instagram, Ruben Caban 5, and I'll be more than glad to hook them up with a physical copy. But for the most part, it's online. It's streaming everywhere. Kangana with a K.
Ruben, this has been wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your story. Best of luck with everything.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. That was a blast.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and minds in Puerto Rico, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Ruben for his time, energy, and story. If you want to hear more Neon Jazz interviews, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to theneonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.